Welcome to today's Prosperous Napier Committee meeting. Just a reminder that we are being live streamed, so you might want to get your tie on there, Councillor Simpson, and beamed out to the world via our Facebook page, and will be available afterwards on our YouTube channel as well. Could we all please stand for our opening karakia? Tūtawa mai runga, tūtawa mai raro, tūtawa mai roto, tūtawa mai waho. Kia tau ai te mauri tū, te mauri ora ki te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tai e. Well, this morning we have apologies from Deputy Mayor Brosnan, Councillor Graham Taylor and Whai Evelyn. Can I have someone to move those, please? Thank you, Councillor Mawson. Seconded, Councillor Crystal. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Do we have any conflicts of interest for today's week? No. Just in announcements by the Chair, just quickly, I'd like to acknowledge the whānau of Kaia Karauria. It was an incredibly tragic event that took place in our city over the weekend. And I think it's incidents like this that remind us of how small, how connected, and ultimately how supported and supportive our community is. So much aroha and condolences to the whānau, to the friends, to the people that are really feeling this and feeling the impacts of this loss in our community. Moi mai rā e tama. Do we have any announcements from management?
None.
Welcome, Louise.
Thank you.
Any minor matters for our agenda? No. We'll move to the confirmation of the minutes that our last Prosperous Napier Committee meeting, which was on the 10th of April, that those minutes are taken as a true and accurate record of the meeting. I'm happy to move those from the Chair and seconded by Councillor Price. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, and that's carried. Our first agenda item is the Hawke's Bay Museum Trust draft statement of intent and the accompanying financial reporting. And this morning we have Louise Miller to present the paper.
Kia ora koutou. So as you'll see, the report is really to receive the information that's included and attached in it. It includes the draft 25-26 statement of intent, which are aligned with the performance indicators that I believe have been discussed before. And just highlighting that Napier City Council is going to continue to be part of the joint working group with Hastings as we transverse and consider those future structures that we'll look at as we stand up the Hawke's Bay Museum Trust and associated funding. In terms of the statement of intent, there's just a couple of things I wanted to highlight. So the statement of intent includes a provision of $115,000 in 25-26. That relates to the rental cost to house the collection in the old facility until their move to the new one. And we're estimating that will take about 6 months. It also includes a separate line in the budget of $61,000, and that's the cost relating to maintenance, cleaning, energy and security while that collection transitions to the new facility. And those budgets for 26-27 and 27-28 are indicative and will be reviewed and updated when the exact cost of operating the facility becomes available. In terms of the Faraday Centre, a decision will be made later regarding the separation of the Faraday collection from the Trust, and that will happen once we've made a decision on the Faraday Centre, which is obviously part of our annual plan process, and going forwards our sort of consultation about our vision for the Faraday Trust. So those were the things I just wanted to highlight. Obviously, unfortunately, our officer isn't here to take specific questions, but I'm happy to take and answer what I can, or I will have to get back to you after the meeting.
Thank you, Louise. We also have both members of the joint working group present, so if appropriate, we can help answer any questions perhaps also. Councillor Gregg.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Just a question about the council funding between Hastings and Napier. On page 12 it says 1.59838. Is that per council or is that half each?
I'm sorry, I can't confirm that. I think, so at the moment, I don't know whether they're the exact numbers and whether that is halved, but at the moment that's what we're looking at. But there are further discussions about the future funding, and I think that's where the tension comes. not the current funding.
Anyone else? Any discussion? No, nice and simple actually, and obviously we are in a period of transition with the construction of the storage facility in Hastings, and I think the main point is just trying to make sure that there's sort of a seamless continuation of service and while we look to take the collection across over to Hiratonga as well. So we are looking to receive the report for the 9 months ended 31 March and to receive the statement of intent. Can I have someone to move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Crystal. Seconded, Councillor Mawson. Would you like to speak to that?
Just that, obviously the Trust's been going through a huge transition and done a lot of work over the last few years, fundraising to help with our new storage facility in Hastings. For those, if you haven't seen it, the feathers are now up on the outside and it's almost completed. So it is going to be a great place for all our tonga to be stored much safer than it was before.
Again, nothing further. Councillor Mawson, great. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Move on to item number 2. We have our 24-25 financial forecast, and welcome Talia to present the paper.
Good morning. And so I'm presenting the financial forecast for the 24-25 financial year. This forecast was completed in February and March. So we were using actuals up to January and estimating for February to June. For capital expenditure, the amended budget of 97.4 million and the annual plan budget of 100 million is looking like we might achieve the majority of that, with the forecast showing 95.8 million. Now that we're a couple of months further along, it's potentially slightly optimistic, but we are still tracking that and we'll be reporting back on that. This 95 million isn't 95% of that full annual plan. There is some overspends in there, which isn't necessarily projects going over budget. Some of that will be budgets being brought forward from future years, so being further ahead with those projects than we expected. Okay, in terms of operating, the forecast is showing a net deficit of 10.5 million compared to the amended budget of 10 million and the annual plan budget of 4.8 million deficit. The majority of those variances is to do with the Parklands residential development and the timing of the Cyclone Gabrielle voluntary property buyouts, which aren't rates effects. We have listed in the paper some of the other minor changes, but moving on to the net rates position, the forecast rates position shows an overall rating deficit of 1.5 million. And this is mainly due to two factors, which is slightly lower than planned growth in the rates revenue and higher than planned employee expenses. Thank you.
Thank you, Talia. I'll open for questions. Councillor Bogue.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Just on page 19, one of the points listed as part of the operating deficit is Ocean Spa, Kennedy Park and the Napier Conference and events not being able to achieve the profitability targets. What could you speak to that? Had we expected any of them to make a profit this year, and how off the target are those?
So when we did the 3-year plan budgets, this was where we decided that those facilities were to work towards break-even or profitability points. Because we had already done the budgets for them based on their previous actuals and where they felt they were heading, we the analysis that was done was adding profitability targets to that, so effectively adding an extra revenue that they were hoping to achieve, which in this first year hasn't been achieved. So the further work that is going on at the moment, I believe, is looking into that and how they can still work towards the break-even or profitability point over the next few years.
So just, if you don't mind, just how off target were we in terms of amounts of money approximately?
I don't have that right in front of me at the moment. Sorry, we can come back to you on that. And it will also be included in the quarterly reports information.
Thank you, Talia. Did I see? Was it? No? Mayor Wise.
You through the chair. Thanks, Talia. Just noting that it's Parklands and the Cyclone Gabrielle voluntary property buyouts, significant driver of the variance, and essentially more about timing issues than anything else. Could you just tell us what the total dollar impact of those two items is, approximately?
I believe Parklands is going to be around the 5 million point. But again, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, so I would need to come back on that. And I'm not sure about the Cyclone Gabrielle.
So I guess what I'm, sorry, carrying on from that, we're forecasting a variance of 10.5 compared to what was in our annual plan of just under $5 million deficit. And so really that change is predominantly going to be down to those two timing issues.
Yes, I would say at least half of that is those timing issues.
Yeah.
And I can see if I can quickly bring up some more information on that, but if there's further questions, will I investigate?
And we can probably make that an action as well,
Yes.
because I think that will be really helpful.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make your
Thank
query an action as well, Councillor Bogue.
So your action is
To come back with the numbers regarding Parklands and the voluntary buyouts and the commercial facilities, how far off budget target were they? Thank you. Councillor Brown.
More a question of curiosity than anything. The finance revenue line, 406% more money than we're expecting to get in. Is that, what was the driver for that?
And that is due to lower than expected borrowings at this stage. So in the 3-year plan, we obviously had a starting point for where we thought the borrowings were going to be from previous capital works, and then added to that with the ongoing capital works throughout the year. The starting point was lower, so we had less borrowings at the beginning of the year than we had planned to. So in general, interest is lowered.
Saved on interest. Thank you.
One from me, Talia, and you might not be able to answer it, it might be for someone else, but it is around the capital expenditure with the projects that have been brought forward. I guess from a governance perspective, I'm wondering how we're identifying which are those projects and how that information is being brought through to us. Is it via Keith's committee or? Thank you.
So through the chair, yes, there's a report on part of that around Three Waters later on today, because that's one of the areas we're looking forward to bring forward some spending. But any spending, we're then reforecasting and just going through the latter years to ensure that there's no impact.
Great,
But
thank you.
But there is a paper, so we can talk in more detail.
Thank you. Anything else? No? All right, we will go to the officer's recommendation that we approve this most recent version of our financial forecast to 30 June 2025. Can I have someone to move that, please? I will, thank you, and seconded by Councillor Gregg. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. And I wondered who we were going to have in the hot seat for number 3, our Treasury activity and funding update.
I think it might be me.
Oh, lucky you. Over to you, Louise.
So, thank you. Through the chair, the officer's recommendation is to receive the report. In kind of key highlights, we've borrowed another 10 million in April, and that brings our total external borrowings with LGFA to 65 million. The OCR decreased by 25 basis points to 3.5% in April, which obviously is helping with our debt. And council debt will start increasing, but that will be once we commence the Te Aka project starts breaking ground, as we know. And officers are preparing to start with the credit rating process. And we talked about the steps involved in that in the report. And that's just something that we do need to move towards. Happy to take any questions, but again, if they're technical of nature, I probably will need to get back to you.
We will take an action. Opening up. Looks like we don't even need an action, so that's fantastic. The officer's recommendation on this paper is that we receive the Treasury activity and funding update. I'm happy to move that from the chair. Can I have someone to second it, please? Thank you, Councillor Crystal. I don't want to speak. No. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, and that's carried. Right. We'll move to our final agenda item in our open agenda. Welcome Gemma, who's going to take us through the submission schedule update from the period of February to the end of April this year.
Thanks, Morena Tato. For the purpose of this report is just to provide an update on opportunities for Napier City Council to submit towards development of legislation and policy. So all the submissions that are sent through are circulated to yourselves for comment prior to being made. Just got an update on two submissions since the 28th of April. The Hawke's Bay Regional consultation on the Hawke's Bay Regional Council consultation on the Regional Public Transport Plan as part of their annual plan consultation. So that draft submission was circulated on the 29th of April. Feedback's been received and the submissions made by the infrastructure team on the 1st of May. In the Te Puni Kaukuri Ministry of Māori Development consultation on Te Ture Whenua Māori Act 1993. So Te Waka Rangipu and City Strategy have had a close inspection of that piece of legislation and determined that they're not going to submit because the primary purpose is for Māori landowners, beneficiaries and those who are involved in the governance of Māori land, as opposed to councils.
Great, thank you, Gemma. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Bogue.
Thank you. Thank you very much to you and the staff for making those submissions and making them available to us, because I know it's a lot of work. But my question is, we make submissions with recommendations and suggestions, as the public does to our various plans. How do we know what the outcomes are? You know, are we successful in what we're asking for? Is it possible for us to get in contact with you, or do you keep a record of the responses that you get from the committees and what actually transpires in terms of legislation?
That's a good question. We don't get any responses back from the organisations and as a result of making the submission.
Okay.
But we could track what was said and what the result is.
I'm not trying to make a whole lot of work for you or anything like that, but there must be some outcome of these submissions that are being made across the country. Would be good to know how successful we are in our application.
Okay, we can have a look at.
Through the chair, I don't know whether it helps, but usually when you give a submission, you don't often get any direct feedback. So it would require us to map the submission to the ultimate legislation, and obviously sometimes there's quite a time delay between those two. But yeah, it's very rare, other than an acknowledgement at best, that you've put a submission in.
Just a suggestion, would it be possible for our local MP to get that information for us, seeing it's all parliamentary legislation?
I think it may be, and we can ask, but I think when a submission is put in, it's just a bit like when we have hearings. It would be one of many, so it's often not an individually considered as a response. So she may not be able to get that, but we can ask.
Sorry, can I just correct that? I don't mean the individual response to ours, but just the overall outcome of the select committee hearings or whatever it is that we submit to, just what happens in the end. Otherwise, we're just making these submissions and we have no idea of how effective they are.
We can ask our MP.
Thank you.
If we have no further questions, we'll move to the officer's recommendation. We have that we will receive the report titled Submission Schedule Update, and also a Part B that we will note the submissions made by Council during the period 26 February to 28 April. Thank you for moving that, Mayor Wise, and seconding Councillor Brown. Would either of you like to speak to that?
Just to say thank you very much, Gemma, for this report. This is something that, we have requested, so it's good to now have all the information in one place that will be coming to us on a regular basis. Thank you.
Yeah, it's neat to have a report like this that sort of brings us up from the weeds and up into where the big picture about where our influence is. So, brilliant, thanks.
Great. If there are anyone else like to speak to that? No? All right, well, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, and that's carried. Thanks, Gemma. All right, I'll look for someone to move us into the public excluded portion of our hui today. We've got 3 agenda items. Thank you, Councillor Tariha, seconded Councillor Mawson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, and we're in.